Welcome to Reshair on ESPN 730. For the next hour, your host, Chris Reshair, will bring fresh air to your financial needs. Excite, educate, and empower you to make sound financial decisions. Chris is a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant with Movement Mortgage, equal housing lender, originator license number 117266. Now, here's your host, Chris Reshair.
Welcome to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshair, licensed loan officer with Movement Mortgage. My license number is 117266. We are an equal housing lender at Movement Mortgage. You got to get that out at the beginning of each show. But let me just tell you, folks, if you've never listened to Reshair Radio, thank you for listening this morning. We're on every Sunday morning, ESPN 730 at 10 a.m. And each and every week, we bring in expert contributors and we bring in special guests that talk about hot topics in our marketplace, whether it's related to homeowners insurance, whether to real estate, whether mortgage, you name it, home inspections, we got it all. So we cover basically anything financial, but lots of specialty around the real estate industry. Since I am a mortgage guy, that makes sense, right? So anyway, we are here today. The goal, again, is to excite, educate, and empower Charlotte teens to make sound financial decisions. And in the studio live this morning, we have with us back again, Preston Sandlin from Home Inspection Carolinas. Preston, welcome back.
Oh, thanks
welcome
for having
to the show this morning.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Absolutely. So we're going to sort of start our segment this morning really talking a little bit about, first of all, what you do, but understanding the value of a pre-inspection. A lot of people, first of all, don't always even know what a pre-inspection is. So you're going to have to break that down for us. But tell us a little bit about your company, your ownership, how long you've been doing it.
Okay,
and so forth.
Sure. Well, and also, and I know you're going to get to Margie later in the show. Hi, Margie. One of the best real estate instructors.
Yeah, coming up, we've got some really great
and I know
she's
a big fan of pre-inspections too, so she'll probably touch on that. But we own Home Inspection Carolina. I've been an inspector for a little over 20 years. We have multiple inspectors. A lot of guys that are younger have better knees and can get in those crawl spaces a little better than than me these days. But I think we've touched on it before. I love helping people out with their dream. It's the American dream to buy a house, and we want to make sure that when they buy it, that they're not getting into any expenses or surprises or something that they didn't calculate for. And as far as helping people, I was a school teacher years ago, and I still feel like I'm teaching. And most of my students are in their early 30s now, and I've actually helped a lot of them, with their home buying process. And that's full circle, man. That's pretty awesome.
That's really cool. Awesome. So now, one of the things that I wanted you to share with our listeners today is, we're in a marketplace really where it's really not hard to sell your home if you've done a good job at presenting it on the marketplace.
Right.
But yet at the same time, there can be inspection issues, and a lot of sellers are saying we're selling the house and we're not going to do anything, even though the contract says they're selling it as is.
Sure, yeah.
There's just not a lot of wiggle room there, and buyers are having to get creative today when they're buying the house. But why would it be important, first of all, what is a pre-inspection, and why would it be important for a seller to consider doing one?
Okay. Well, a seller's or pre-inspection is a seller actually having the inspection versus the traditional buyer coming in and having their inspector. And they're probably still going to do that on top of a seller's inspection.
Yep.
And I'll get into that just a little bit, and that creates some problems, but not really. But there's several advantages to it. One of the advantages are, you've made your calculations, what you want to sell the house for. You're going back and forth, and boom, you've come to a price, and then all of a sudden they come back and, hey, we want $3,800 worth of repairs. Like, you didn't calculate for that. So if you have
you're going to go in and inspect the home before it ever goes on the market.
Before it ever goes on the market. So then you know about the things, and it's a little hard, but it's, we know about the problems earlier. We can get multiple contractors in here to give us estimates, and that $3,800 may be only $2,200 if we get competitive offers, and we have time to do it. Another thing is that, let's say that $3,800 problem, the buyer comes in and they get a contractor that they know, hey, pad that estimate a little bit, let's make it $6,000, and then I want $6,000 off the price of the house. And, and I've seen it happen. And you eliminate the buyer's ability to get you down on the price of the house if you fix all the major issues on the front end. Another big advantage is, and I know Margie can speak more to this, but now we have a due diligence contract, which to my understanding is kind of like layaway. You put a certain amount towards the article of clothing, a house, and if you move forward with it, it gets credited. But if not, you lose it, but you can walk away for any or no reason. So think about it. If you're a buyer and you're looking at two houses, house A and house B, and one's been pre-inspected and one hasn't, and there's a chance that there may be some surprises here, there's more of a chance that I might lose my due diligence or my layaway money, where the other one, no surprises, it's already been inspected. So which one's going to be, everything else being equal, which one is going to be a little more attractive for a buyer?
Yeah, you're really just presenting the house in a way that you can say, hey, we've already done a deep dive and we've addressed any of those issues up front. In fact, and don't you offer that report to the buyer saying, hey, it's already been inspected?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's the seller's property, but normally they use it as a marketing tool. Like,
right.
Hey, I've seen them, they'll print out several copies, put it on the kitchen table and say, this is what he found. And here's all the receipts of everything that we had fixed. It's like the ultimate gesture of transparency, like, wow. If I'm looking at a bunch of houses, I'm like, this guy, he told me about the warts and all, and he fixed them.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's just a lot more attractive. I mean,
we're not used to transparency in our culture. Come on.
Yeah. Well, and I talked to a realtor a couple of weeks ago, and he had an interesting spin. He said he does pre-inspections with all his listings. He sells them as is, but he does pre-inspections on them. So you see what he's doing is he's, and it's like you said, it's a competitive market where you're getting multiple bids and sometimes way above market price. But then he's cutting out the chance for the the back end getting them down on price or whatever for repair negotiations. And the market is such right now that you can do that. I don't know if you can do that in all markets, but
right. Well, the other piece that I really, and we've talked about this in other shows, where really you're taking that element of stress out. If you wait and then you find out all of the things that are wrong with your home after you're 2 or 3 weeks into the transaction, it adds a lot of anxiety to the process, because you're already staying up late, packing boxes, trying to figure out where you're going to go, still trying to work, still trying to manage your family. And then now we've got to figure out how to deal with these repair issues. Right. If you can prevent that from happening, to me, there's an element of just calmness that it brings to that future sale when you do go to sell that home, because there's no surprises.
Yeah, and as Gary Keller calls it, bulletproofing the deal.
Right.
So in one of his books, I think Shift or something like that. But I do want to address the elephant in the room, though, the downside of pre-inspections.
Sure.
Because the immediate thing is, well, I get this thing, I pay for this pre-inspection, I do all these repairs, and then they come in with their inspector and he finds a bunch of stuff, and then I got to repair everything again. That's true. The buyer is going to come in with their inspector. Not always. Sometimes they'll go with the pre-inspection, but they're going to find some stuff. Here's the way I look at it. You have two inspectors inspect the same house, and there's 4 major items. They both should find those 4 major items. Their list of small items, 15 to 20, small rubbing doors, sticking windows, things like that, are going to be varied. I mean, it's, like if we gave everybody here a subjective test, tell us what the Cold War effect that it had on your family economics. Well, like our answers are going to be the same.
Absolutely.
It's a subjective thing. So what I'm getting at is, if I sent 2 inspectors to inspect the same house, hopefully they both find the 4 major things, but their list of smaller things are going to be different, and I expect them to be different. So if we go in and do a pre-inspection, I always say that if they come in with their buyer's inspector and they find something major, i.e. over $500 or a major safety issue that we missed, we're going to refund your money on that pre-inspection.
That's impressive.
Yeah, but his list of small things are going to vary, and he's not going to come in and say it's perfect. I'm sure I can go behind him and find, a list of small things that he, when I say him, I mean him or her, gals. We do have a female inspector too, but I don't expect. I do expect the small things to be different, but if there's a major discrepancy, we'll refund the money.
Awesome, that's great. Well, I do appreciate you kind of educating our listeners here. Really, that's for anyone that's thinking about selling their home. A pre-inspection is something that they could consider and really weigh some of these advantages. Where could they find more information about the value of a pre-inspection?
Sure. Chris, just go to our website, homeinspectioncarolina.com. And if you click on, there's a resource tab there too. We have that 10 ways to get a cleaner home inspection report that we went over last week. And also there's a pre-inspection checklist, or what the inspector is going to be looking for. I highly recommend getting a pre-inspection, but if you don't do that, at least print out that checklist and go through it, preferably not the night before the inspection, but start out about 2 weeks before. And if you go through that list, I promise you'll get a lot better home inspection report.
Great. Awesome. And if they need to do a home inspection, whether they're selling or buying, what's the best phone number to reach you and your company?
It is 704-542-6575. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, and what was that number one more time?
704-542-6575.
Awesome. Preston, you're always amazing. It's always great to have you as an expert contributor on Reshair Radio, and glad to have you as a friend. So awesome. Anyway, thank you for being on the show, and we're going to take a quick break, and where we can introduce our two special guests here in the studio with us this morning. But again, thanks for listening to Reshair Radio. We'll be right back for the next segment. Stay tuned. Here we go.
Did you know it has been reported that an estimated 80% of Americans have credit inaccuracies on their credit reports? Most people that have either inaccuracies or existing items that can be negotiated or adjusted do not know what their best score could be until they have found a new home, or buying a new car, or applying for a credit card. Then it's too late, and they have to accept a higher interest rate or lose the opportunity altogether. The time to work on improving your credit score is before you need it. Whether you have a 440, 640, or even a 740 FICO score, there is always room for improvement. The National Credit Care Team is comprised of individuals dedicated to helping the millions of consumers plagued by credit inaccuracies, errors, and fraud. It is our mission to help inform consumers and alleviate the stress of working with creditors and credit bureaus. Together, we can maximize your scores to get the best interest rates possible and save you money. Call now, 303-747-6390. That's 303-747-6390. Or visit us at www.nationalcreditcare.com.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar, licensed loan officer with Movement Mortgage. If you haven't listened to our show yet, each and every week we come on and we bring in special contributors, special guests, experts, you name it, to talk about all kinds of hot topics in our local marketplace. And this morning, I'm really excited to, as Preston had alluded before the first break, we've got Margie Bell here. Margie Bell is the owner of Agent's Choice School of Real Estate. Margie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. It's great to be here.
And we also have in the studio here with us this morning, John, help me, it's Sylvia.
Sylvia.
From KW Keller Williams. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So what I'd like to do is, before we kind of get into our theme for the day, I really want to make sure our listeners kind of get a feel for who both of you are as experts in your field. So Margie, I know you've got lots of industry experience, so why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your school, how much experience you have, and what you bring to the table here in our studio today.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Would love to do that. I have been in the real estate industry for 40 years.
Awesome.
I've worked with over 5,000 buyers and sellers.
Wow.
It's impressive.
I have more designations. It's ridiculous. Nobody cares, but it looks good on the card. But the one that I'm very proud of is I am a DREI, which is Distinguished Real Estate Instructor. And presently, there's only 53 in the entire world.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool. I have been in the education side for about 25 years. And 2 years ago, I decided to open up my own school of real estate, and decided I wanted to be different and offer a different kind of school. So recently I hired John Sylvia, and he is helping me make all those dreams come true.
John, you are the other part of the show here, Margie and John show.
Yes,
So
that's right, the Johnny and Margie.
Johnny and Margie
No,
show.
the Margie and Johnny.
Oh,
the
excuse
Margie
me.
and Johnny. We gotta get
I'm
there.
trying. We'll get there.
All right. Well, this is a good segue, John. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your credentials and industry experience?
Well, I've actually been a realtor for 17 years, was licensed in 2000,
Cool.
Do residential here in North and South Carolina, and love it. It's just great helping people achieve the American dream of getting in a house. Prior to that, I was in the corporate world, like a lot of people in real estate, and just decided I needed to chart my own course. And so switched gears, got out of corporate world, and came into real estate. And
Cool.
then, of course, thankfully, Margie and I had a wonderful chat, and now I get to move into instruction.
Yeah, so you've been teaching with Margie for a little while now as well.
About a year. And then I've been teaching through KW for a long time. So
Got it. Perfect. We use that term KW just like it, it's a household name, Keller Williams, for those of us that are kind of in this industry. But Margie, tell us, how did you get started in real estate? 40 plus years of experience, that's a lot. How'd you get started?
Well, if I tell you the truth, everybody's going to start counting on their fingers, and they're going to realize I'm older than dirt. But my degree is in nursing. I have a baccalaureate degree in nursing, and was actually a nurse in an intensive care unit, and decided at a very young age I just didn't like working with sick people. I wanted to do something different. And I was a drama minor, so it kind of didn't go together. So I quit. I went back to school. I got a master's. And then from that, I got into real estate and really, really love helping people make their dreams come true.
Cool. That's a great little story. So, and when your master's was in business, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yes, it was a big deal.
I mean, not that many women probably during that time were getting MBAs. That's pretty cool.
Are you inferring, Chris, that I'm extremely old and women didn't do
No,
that then?
kind of walked into that
I'm
one.
just saying. I'm just saying it's probably true, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, it's just impressive, It really, I just think you're a leader among women. That's what I'm really trying to point out.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, cool. And John, I know you sort of segued a little bit in your conversation earlier. You had been in the corporate world. Tell us a little bit about where you worked and what kinds of things you did there.
Well, I worked for the mouse at Walt Disney World for a while, which was a lot of fun.
Cool.
And from there, I went into the clothing business with Joseph Bank Clothiers and spent a lot of time running stores here in North and South Carolina with them, which very rewarding, great experience. At the end of the day, I kind of looked up one time and said, well, if we're going to work with commissions, we may as well work with houses, not socks.
Socks. That's right.
So kind of changed the product just a little bit, and went into real estate. So.
Cool. And here we are. Okay, last question before we sort of roll into our theme for the day. What do you like most, Margie, about what you do now?
Well, that's a great question, Chris. There's a lot of things that I love about being an educator, but I think the thing that touches my heart deeply is when I'm teaching a student and they just aren't getting it, and then all of a sudden the light goes off, and I look in their eyes and I know they've got it, and I'm a part of that process. I love that, and I get a lot of notes and emails from students telling me that I helped them understand something about our industry that they had never understood before. So I find that very, very gratifying.
Cool. I mean, that's a true teacher's heart.
I think so.
Yeah, awesome. And John, you've got a similar question, but I'm going to ask you a little bit more about what you like most about being a realtor.
I love that we are charting our own course. We are absolutely independent contractors. We set our goals, big goals, little goals, whatever they are, and we work towards achieving what's going to make us happiest in our life. We have balance in that we get to choose when we work, when we vacation. Some of us probably should choose to work more and vacation less, but it's just...
Or some of us should try to find time to get vacation in.
Well,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that...
That seems to be my issue.
Yeah. Those 24/7 realtors, it's like, no, take a break. It's okay. You got to be fresh. But I just think it really gives us a wonderful life balance and the ability to achieve whatever we want to achieve. Mm-hmm. There's no top end to it. There's just literally no top end.
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody that called me recently about wanting to be a loan officer, and she works with a local bank and is paid a salary, and she said, I really would like to work with you at Movement Mortgage, and it's a great company, this, that, and the other thing. I said, all those things are true. I said, the great thing about the mortgage industry is there's no ceiling to your income.
Yes,
I said,
yeah.
but the challenge is there's also no floor when you're on 100% commission.
That's true.
And it takes a certain kind of mindset to really, be at a point in your life where you're willing to take the risk of living 100% commission. Because I always tell people, even when I have people that apply for a job or apply for a mortgage loan that make an $8.50 an hour, and I say your base salary is bigger than mine, right? Because I don't have a salary, you don't have a salary.
No, we do not.
So, so it is amazing industry. Both of them are amazing industries, whether it's real estate or mortgage, can be amazing if you work hard and do the best you can and take care of people. But it does take some time to get to that point where you're ready to make that jump. So anyway, well, obviously you've had success here. That's why the two of you are here in the studio. Just a quick little jump in. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar. And we are really talking here with John Sylvia with Keller Williams and Margie Bell with Agents Choice School of Real Estate. And the reason I have them in today really is because both of them are friends of mine. I occasionally come in as a guest instructor with Margie's school, and that's how I've known John in the industry for years, but we also teach together. But I really wanted to bring in you or both of you, Margie and John, is really to kind of bring in some lessons learned, because the show really is about educating the general public about the general overall real estate industry and helping you make decisions around buying and selling real estate. But when you're working with people that have a lot of experience, we can really talk through what have you seen over the years that you have had, and with you also having the designations and really being in the industry for a while, you've seen a lot more, and you're also instructing people or instructing realtors how to be a good realtor. So you have a different set of eyes, I believe, than maybe the average agent that sits in the studio with me that I highlight now and again. So if you hear anything that you're interested in, you want to learn more, whether you want to find John to help you buy or sell a home, or whether you want to talk as a real estate agent with Margie and her team about coming and learning how to be a realtor, how to get started in real estate, then you can give me a short call at 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. Call me, text me. You can just say, I need Margie or I need John, and I'll make sure we get back to you after the show airs and at the beginning of the week, and we'll go from there. So anyway, lesson or theme for the day is 10 lessons learned, helping you understand, I'm saying lessons learned, not 10 lessons learned, 5 lessons learned. I apologize, my error there. Helping you understand the world of real estate. So that's really what our theme is going to be. Whether we get to 5 or 10, I guess it doesn't really matter. We're going to share lots of lessons, right?
That's right. That's right.
So, all right. So let's talk about the first one, and that is understanding the role of a realtor. Sounds crazy, but we have realtors that come in and out of the show, but I want our listeners really to go step back and just hear what is the role of the realtor. And Margie and John, I'm not going to ask necessarily one or both of you, just sort of jump in here and share with me what your thoughts are.
I'll jump in if that's okay.
Sure.
I think the number one role that the realtor has is to educate the consumer about what it means to buy a home and what is that process. And sometimes that's welcome news, and sometimes we have to be very delicate in educating because their expectations may not be the same as ours. I always like to say that my job is to give my clients all the information they need to make an informed decision, because at the end of the day, I am not buying or selling the house, they are.
You're not their father. Margie's not their mother saying, here's what you need to do. You've got to present it to them and help them make the decision.
That's exactly right. And sometimes, you're very intimately involved with people in the largest financial transaction most people will make in their lifetime. It's just
that's right.
It's critical that we get it right. The consequences could be serious. So we take our role very, very seriously in the leave no stone unturned. Make sure we've discovered everything that this client needs in order to have a successful transaction with the sale or the purchase of their home.
Right.
Perfect.
And
Margie.
I just like to add to that. We're going to mention several other things regarding your realtor, but one of the things I think is quite important is your realtor, and that's not relator, it's realtor, is someone who can guide you and help minimize your stress as you navigate through this entire process. So your realtor should be bringing a calmness, an awareness to what is going on. Your realtor should not be creating chaos.
Right.
And we've seen all types.
Yes.
But we're not going to talk about specifics in that category.
No
Is there
names.
anything else that no names will be mentioned today? Is there anything else in terms of understanding the role of the realtor that you want our listener to know before we sort of move into an additional lesson learned in helping understanding the world of real estate?
Yes, I think I'd like to add that it's very important that you make an informed decision when you're choosing your realtor. Your realtor should know North Carolina license laws and rules and regulations. And what does that mean? That means that we, myself, my school, and the North Carolina Real Estate Commission, we educate the realtors. It is the realtor's job to educate you, keep you out of trouble.
There you go. Well stated. So, Margie, John, we're going to take a quick break here. Again, we're really talking about lessons learned, helping you understand the world of real estate. So we're going to take a quick break with our guests here, and so please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
When choosing an insurance agency, you want a company you can trust. We are an independent insurance agency that can protect your personal assets, including your home, your business assets, as well as health and insurance needs. A true one-stop solution provider. We do not work for an insurance company. We work for you. As an independent insurance agency, our duty is to our clients' best interests. It is our responsibility to provide you the best service and the best coverage at the best possible price. You will have the added benefit of working with agents who understand your needs. After visiting our website, we will schedule an exploratory appointment to discuss your specific needs. Please visit our website at www.movementinsurance.com. That's www.movementinsurance.com.
This is Chris Reshaar, your host of Reshair Radio. As a mortgage professional, we interact with several industry-related professionals, and we see the good, the bad, and the ugly. When I have a choice to select a closing attorney either to purchase or do a refinance, I choose John Ringer with Hutchins Law Firm. He is a legal professional, and he covers commercial and residential transactions. More than just a closing attorney, John wants to be your attorney for life. He can provide you insights you need to make accurate and informed legal decisions. As a Charlotte native, John has witnessed the tremendous growth and development of our city and region. As a part of Hutchins Law Firm with more than a quarter century of experience and 400 years of collective combined legal experience, they have what you're looking for. They have offices in Charlotte, Fayetteville, Wilmington, and Columbia, South Carolina. Please give John a call if you need an attorney, the right attorney, at 980-275-9810. That's 980-275-9810.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshaar, back with another week of Reshair. Hopefully you've listened before and you know how we operate around here. The show goal is to empower, excite, and really sort of get Charlotteans on the same page in terms of helping them make good financial decisions. And I'm having a hard time stepping over my own theme, but that's all right. I'm only making you laugh too, right? So we've got two special guests here in the studio. If you haven't been listening to our previous segment, we've got Margie Bell from Agents Choice School of Real Estate. She's the owner of the School of Real Estate, 40 plus years in the real estate industry. And John Sylvia is an instructor with Margie's school, but also a licensed realtor in North and South Carolina, working with Keller Williams, covering 17 years of industry experience. So we've got great people here in the studio, and we're really talking about understanding or navigating the world of real estate. And we're bringing lots of industry experience and talking about more general concepts, because we can talk about an individual. I do highlight, if you've listened to our show before, I've highlighted individual realtors that have different niches. This is going to be a little more generic that can apply to the entire real estate industry, but giving you really some wisdom here that maybe you hadn't thought about before. So we're going to go into the next sort of lessons learned, and that is number 2, choosing your realtor wisely. And these are some of the things that the two of you came up with in terms of what you thought would be important for listeners to understand. So Margie, I'm going to let you tee that off and take it from there. What's important about understanding choosing your realtor wisely?
I think the most important element in choosing your realtor wisely is trust. You know, everybody knows somebody who's a realtor. And I'm going to ask John to address that later, of who you want to work with and who you may not want to work with. But in any case, trust is so important. For most people, the purchase of their home, Chris, is the single largest investment they'll make.
Yep.
And they've got to meet someone that they can actually trust. Does that happen in 1 or 2 minutes? No. However, you can certainly tell a lot by someone in the way they communicate and what they're saying. Are they knowledgeable? Are they just stuck on talking about themselves? Or are they really interested in what you, the consumer, need and want? Those kind of conversations build trust. And trust takes time. For some people, it takes a lot of time. For some people, they can look at you and say, "You're great, love you." In any event, trust is important.
Okay, and what would, just while I'm going to have you add to that, what would you say would be a strategy or technique for our listener to get to that point, to know if they trust them?
I think a great way is to ask them about their experience and then listen very carefully. Is the experience discussion more like I, or is the experience discussion more, I was able to help this family. They had gone to other realtors and no one would take care of them. I chose to spend my time helping them.
So really, it's an interview. They should be interviewing the realtor.
Absolutely interviewing.
And not necessarily picking the first one they interview.
That's right. Interview. That's the key. That's how you build trust.
Perfect. All right, great. All right, John, what do you want to add to the component here in terms of choosing your realtor wisely?
I completely agree that trust is the most important factor in this. And the only way to get to that point is literally to interview maybe more than once. I'm going to address the touchy subject that Margie alluded to. Everybody knows somebody. Yeah, I know. Your third cousin on your mother's left side has a real estate license. You know, everybody wants to help their family and their friends be successful in their business, and I think that's good. But sometimes your family or your friends are not the best people to move forward with when you're making a business decision. Mm-hmm. The upside is you're helping them, and they're helping you, and if everything goes well, that's perfect. Everything doesn't always go well. Sometimes we have to part ways. And if you're working with just because they're family or just because they're your best friend, if you had to terminate them, what would that look like?
You don't mean terminate them.
Well,
you
not
mean terminate
like,
the business relationship.
We're not knocking people off here in the real estate
business.
Are
you being Arnold Schwarzenegger today?
I'm not armed. It's all good.
Oh, good. Thank goodness.
But yeah, sometimes that relationship comes to an end. Or,
hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Or things don't go well, and you do close, but it was just awful. And, now it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, and wow, this is going to be awkward. So I think that the discussion up front, if you're going to work with someone just because they're a family or a friend, really needs to have the discussion about what if. Mm-hmm. What if? Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. And I'm going to just sort of jump in here because, with me being a licensed loan officer for 15 years, sometimes it's even like somebody that you're close to in the neighborhood or that you go to church with or whatever. And, I'm at the point in my career where, quite frankly, God's blessed me. It's Sunday, so forgive me if you're not religious. But regardless, I have a lot of friends at church that contact me. And I'll say, first of all, before we do anything, I appreciate you coming to me and want me to help you with your mortgage loan. But what's most important to me is your friendship
right.
and that relationship.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I will help you. I'll be glad to help you. If at any point in the process you're not comfortable, then that's okay. We can find you someone else that can help you. I think sometimes you have to have those discussions with people, whether it's family, close friends, colleagues at work, whatever it might be. Those discussions are important. You're going to find that somebody that is seasoned and it is the right kind of professional for you should be having these discussions on the front end.
I completely agree.
So, all right, cool. Well, that's kind of you've really sort of talked about, that trust factor and just don't just choose your realtor because maybe, like you said, you're the second cousin on the mother's side. You got to really think about the components so that you can have a positive experience. Because Margie said, this is most likely your biggest investment. Mm-hmm. So you really want to make sure you have the right people on your team. So, all right. So number 3, that you came up with, and one of you can jump in. What's step number 3?
Margie?
Choose your lender wisely.
That's right.
And I can say this because this is not my show. My lender is Chris Reshair, who I think is one of, if not the finest loan officer in Charlotte. And no, he didn't pay me to say that. That's what I really think.
But it's true.
And he's exceptional. And you see, Chris oozes the trust factor.
Cool.
So when you choose your lender wisely, you're not really buying the house. You are buying the dollars to buy the house. It's a risk you and the bank, you share. You share that risk.
Sure.
So there are several things that are really important. So John, do you want to discuss that?
I'm happy to. A lot of people get really caught up with what is my interest rate and what are my payments going to be, and you're entering into a long-term relationship here. And I think that just as Chris is wonderful, he's also backed by an amazing company at Movement Mortgage.
Yes.
I think you have to have impeccable credentials for the organization that the person is representing.
Yep.
I work with Movement Mortgage because
regularly
because they do what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it.
Yes.
You know what? If they say it's going to take 7 days, it's going to take 7 days. And that is critically important. And I think a lot of people like to go shop. Let's see, we're still not naming any names. They just like to go online and find something somebody that might be just somewhere because there's some tiny little notion that they've picked up that might save them $1 or $2. And I think that you really have to look at who you're working with, their reputation, and the reputation of the company that's behind them.
Perfect. At one time, someone shared this quote with me, and I share it back. I don't know who said it, but it's the simple adage that sometimes if you go cheap, you get monkeys.
Oh, there you go. You always get what you pay for.
Right. It's another way of saying the same thing, right? But maybe a little more funny.
Yeah,
but
I like
nonetheless,
yours. I like yours. You might hear it again somewhere.
So, well, I appreciate the sort of plugs there, but you really, as the loan officer here in the studio that's sharing, and the person that runs this show, we try to be competitive on interest rate. But we also know that, like John said, getting it done on time, following up, submitting the loan when it's supposed to be submitted, and doing all of the components and ordering the appraisal in a timely manner and following up and getting that loan final approved, all of those things. There's a lot of components that goes into mortgage lending, but all of those are important. So you've got to look at the overall reputation of the company and the loan officer and how they operate combined when you choose your lender, not just the interest rate. So the other piece that Margie, you mentioned, that was people need to start early in the process and get approved.
Right.
So I'll let you jump in on that if you have anything you want to share.
Well, you do have to start early and get fully approved before you shop, and you should see your loan officer before you see your realtor.
Wait, but I saw this house on Zillow, Margie.
Well, too bad. If you're going to be a serious buyer and you're going to want to attract those agents that I described as having that great trust factor, they're going to say to you, they're going to ask you, have you seen a loan officer? So the first step in house hunting should be, in my opinion, to see a loan officer and get fully approved, then call the realtor of your choice. Know what you can afford before you put an offer on a home or before you start looking.
Yeah.
Someone might think, wow, I'm in the $350,000 range. But when they actually sit down with the loan officer and everything has been looked at and considered, everything, and then that loan officer has to say, you're just not quite there. That can be a real come down for people, and it makes them sad. And then it puts the realtor in an awkward place because they've been showing them $350,000 homes.
That's right.
And I've also seen it demotivates them sometimes, and they end up renting.
That's right,
Yeah.
because it's
in
embarrassing.
reality, if we had flipped the tables and
Yeah.
started the right way and said, 250 is your max, that deflation wouldn't have led them to staying in another rental for another year.
That's right.
And another component of that, Chris, is that when folks are thinking they're in that 350 range, then they find out it's really 250. They're embarrassed.
Yes.
and that embarrassment may cause them to think, oh, well, we can't really do this at all, which isn't true. They probably can. So I'm just a huge proponent. I teach all our students, tell your folks to get approved, fully approved, before you show them houses. And with Chris's company, I can't speak to others at this moment, but fully approved means it's gone.
Through the underwriter.
Someone in underwriting has looked at all of this information and said yes.
That's right. Or no, right?
Or no. We'll hope for yes.
Hope that's right.
As a realtor, I'm going to oversimplify this, but to me as a realtor, what it means is the only thing that you need, Chris, is an address.
That's right.
That's it.
Yes.
I give you the address.
You're ready
and we
minus
go.
the address.
That's right. And I think this goes back to the trust factor in knowing, Margie alluded to this, but as a realtor, I think that any realtor that's willing to just go, yeah, hop in the car, let's go, they are not serving your needs or theirs. Everybody's wasting their time at that point. So I think that can be kind of a good evaluation point for, have I picked the right realtor?
Absolutely.
Because the right realtor, 2 syllables, realtor, the right realtor is not going to go, oh, I'm so happy you saw that house, I'll be there in 10 minutes. They're going to call you. They're going to say, come in the office. Let's sit and talk. Who have you talked to? Let me talk to them.
What are your needs?
Are you
Yes.
working with another realtor?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's always that
There's
one
all
too. Yeah,
kinds
we
of
need that
stuff.
one. There's a lot of them. So, but I can't agree more with if you're buying a house, you need to be ready to roll because today's market is very competitive. Most homes have multiple offers on them, and the buyer who's ready to get the deal done and close is the one who's going to probably end up getting the house. So
That's right.
A better qualified buyer, even at a lower price, will jump ahead of somebody that's got a higher offer on the house.
And they haven't done the paperwork. and
That's
the
exactly right.
qualification.
That's exactly right. So
Perfect.
That's huge.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. Again, you're listening to Chris Reshatar. I'm your show host of Reshair Radio. We'll be back with Margie and Johnny here in just a minute for our very last segment as we continue our discussion on helping you navigate the world of real estate. Stay tuned.
Sports fans know that the key to winning the big game is going in prepared. Right now, houses are selling fast. So if you're in the market for a new home purchase, don't just be prepared, be Movement Mortgage prepared. Charlotte's leading mortgage lender, Chris Reshatar at Movement Mortgage will tee you up with a free, fully underwritten, upfront pre-approval. Call Chris today at 704-277-4463. Go into the game prepared with Chris Reshatar of Movement Mortgage.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar, licensed loan officer with Movement Mortgage, NMLS license number 117266. Movement Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Yeah, fast I can get to say that over the years. Nonetheless, we are here with Margie Bell and John Sylvia, and we're talking about really understanding sort of lessons learned and understanding the world of real estate from really more of a global perspective. And with both of you being instructors and having tons of real estate experience, we're really just hitting highlights. So we talked about how, what a realtor really does, how to choose a realtor, how to choose a mortgage lender, what's important about that. We just wrapped that up. And really the next component we want to hit on is home inspections. I'm on the mortgage side and I've seen lots of different things, but I think sometimes people think they're optional. I think sometimes people think their uncle can do it. And so what are your thoughts here as the professionals in the studio here with me this morning?
I think as speaking as a realtor, but I would also be listening to myself if I was a consumer, the more you know about the product that you're about to put on the market to sell, the better off you are.
Yeah.
And if you've been living in your house, even for as little as 5 years or as much as 20 or 30 years, you've grown so accustomed to the way your house works that you don't even see what a blind set of eyes coming in is going to notice. So I think that the pre-inspection of a home is critical from an informational standpoint and also as a marketing standpoint. People get hit with surprises at the 11th hour that cost them money, and nobody's ever happy when that happens. Now the seller and the buyer are having to discuss things that they really wouldn't have had to discuss if that one simple little step had just been taken up front to have the house inspected, so we know what are the big things, what are the little things. So that I'm highly recommend
A pre-inspection.
The pre-inspection.
Having it
yes.
inspected before you put it on the market.
Yes.
It's simple. Perfect.
And I totally agree with that. And I would like to add one of the reasons, all the reasons that I'm for a pre-inspection, Preston mentioned earlier and John just mentioned. But the thought I always have is I don't want my sellers to have a huge surprise.
That's right.
So if you don't have a pre-inspection, put your house on the market, get an offer, buyer has the inspection, and whoops, all of a sudden there's $5,000 worth of foundation work to be done that you were not aware of. $5,000.
That you have 2 weeks to fix.
Right. 2 weeks.
Exactly right.
And all that, the time frame is true, but you're a seller. Can you really just dismiss $5,000? So the pre-listing inspection removes the
Surprise.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think of the word. The surprise effect, and I think that is one of the most important reasons to have it. The other thing that I would like to say to all of you folks out there that might be investors, and so you're going to buy the property as is and flip it because you know you can become a millionaire in 2 days.
That's how it
That's
works.
right.
That's
Yes,
exactly
that's how it works.
I saw the
And-
commercial
I
late at
know.
night. Late at night.
Yes,
And you go to
see-
Hawaii to take the course. It's really nice.
And also, if you all know those two cute twins, the two cute twins that do all these marvelous things, that's not necessarily how it happens in real life.
Say
I
it
know.
isn't so.
But it's reality TV, Margie.
Oh,
I know,
no.
but darn it, sometimes that's just not real life. So we don't want the seller to have surprises, and we can take care of that by pre-listing inspection. The other thing that John said that I want to just comment on is to use a reputable home inspector. Just because you know someone who was a general contractor in the UK 40 years ago does not mean that they understand our building codes, the way things are done here. And even if your dearest friend is a handyman that's brilliant, he may not understand the way things are done here. And finally and lastly, you folks that are thinking of selling and you have to fill out that property disclosure statement, please don't put no representation on everything.
Oh, amen.
If you have lived in a house for even 1 year and you claim you don't know about the heat and air, I think we have a problem.
Yep.
Be honest, tell the truth. If you've had something, you fixed it, explain it. When a seller puts no representation on every single question, a good buyer's agent is going to think, what's wrong?
And everybody's
Wow.
going to find out.
Yep.
I mean, that the buyer's going to have an inspection.
Yeah.
So somebody will find out. And also, I've encountered people that they want to say, oh, well, I can paint over stuff and I can make it look really good. A qualified inspector coming in is going to discover those things you thought you were so clever to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you're better off just to have your house inspected up front, know what you're dealing with, fix it right, and go from that direction.
Makes sense. All right, well, let's move to one of the other lessons learned, really, that you want our listeners to learn about is, and I like this one, it says, don't go cheap on some of the other essential elements of the transaction.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of times, from a buyer's side, especially if money starts to get tight, the buyer will start looking at, oh, a survey is going to be X number of dollars, and we really need to save that money, and do we really have to get a survey?
We'll get it done later.
Yeah, we'll do it. And, later it's a little bit too late because...
Or let's use the old one, John.
No, let's not. We don't know what they've done since that old survey happened. And not to complicate the issue, but you're going to get title insurance on your home. And if you don't have a current survey, the title insurance may or may not insure over any defects that show up that were unknown because now the survey's in place.
I didn't know that my neighbor put their shed over my property
Oh.
or poured their driveway on my property.
Or my fence is on their
Should have had a
property.
survey. Should have had a survey.
Or what is that easement where I just planted that beautiful garden that I wanted so badly, and now the city just came and dug it up, and they're telling me I can't do anything about that. Well, that would be right. There are so many things that happen even under the ground with underground storage tanks or utility lines. There's just so much that goes into a survey other than, can I put up a fence?
Right.
Where's that little corner market? How far do I have to mow? That's not what a survey is about.
And
Perfect.
another thing that Another issue that John and I feel very strongly about is your attorney
Yes.
should be a real estate closing attorney. Your brother may be the most famous divorce attorney on the planet, but if your brother has never closed a real estate transaction, you could end up having some serious issues. So remember to forget all the attorneys that you know unless they are a real estate attorney.
Very wise counsel. I can remember how many bumpy transactions that I've had because I maybe did a loan for an attorney and their office, quote, could do real estate when they need to. And it's always just, it's like, did you order the title search?
Yeah.
I mean, do you know who's going to insure it? When are we going to, when are we going to get the paperwork done? It's just very, very challenging. Don't just use a friend, use a professional. Anything else under this category that's important to share in terms of don't go cheap on the other essential elements of the transaction?
John, would you just make some comments on, we put this category additional inspections. Could you just comment on that?
Yes. There are a lot of things that people might not think of as being that serious, but like radon is a gas that is prominent here. Doing your wood destroying pest inspection, doing
Termite,
a septic inspection if you're on a septic tank is critically important. A well test if you're on a well.
Yeah. Safe drinking water test.
We want to be able to drink the water coming out of the tap. But can't hurt.
We love safe drinking water.
Yes, we do. So yes, I think that, and that's where it goes back to that experienced realtor who knows what they're doing, who knows enough to advise you to say, this house has these different features to it. You need to have a well test. You need to have a septic test. You need to, let's make sure the termite, this is termite mecca. North Carolina is where they come from. Let's make sure something isn't eating your house underneath it, and we don't know that. So there are a lot of different inspections that we recommend.
That people should consider, and just don't go cheap, right?
Don't go cheap. Don't go cheap.
Don't go cheap. So, all right. Well, we're going to sort of wrap up the theme here today, and really just I want Margie. Well, first of all, thank both of you for being on the show. I think you've brought a really nice broad perspective for our listener that may be wanting to buy or sell real estate, things for them to really think through and consider. Margie, I'd like for you to just take a little minute and tell us a little bit more about Agents Choice School of Real Estate. We've just got a couple of minutes or so here before we need to wrap up the show.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks so much for having John and I on the show. It's really been a pleasure. I remember when you first began, and I was one of your first guests.
You were.
And we were doing the interview on the phone, and I was in an airport. So
Right.
This has been a lot more comfortable and a lot more fun. Agents Choice School of Real Estate is unique in that we keep our classes very small. Our classes will never exceed 24 agents, unlike some of the major schools, and of course not to mention any names, but they might have 50 to 150 students in a classroom. Our classes are small, there's a lot of participation, and my instructors are just really devoted to each student. My thought process, the big overview, Chris, was I'm dedicated to taking students who want to get their license, as well as all those who are already licensed that we educate. I'm dedicated to taking them to a higher level. I don't want to churn out people. I want to be able to provide great realtors for the consumer. And like you, I certainly don't want to step on anyone's toes, but Agents Choice School of Real Estate is dedicated to the glory of God. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to pray or talk about God. What it means is that my instructors and we believe we answer to a higher source, and we're going to give 100% to our students, and we really genuinely care about their success.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you letting me be a part of your school as a guest. As I feature you as a guest on my show, you often feature me as a guest in your school, and it's a true pleasure for me as well. So if you have heard anything that you like today, you want to learn more about how to get additional licensing and continuing education class, you can work with Margie. You can give me a call, or if you're looking for a good real estate agent like John Sylvia, who you could help you sell your home or buy a home, all you need to do is call me or text me and just say, I need John, or I need Margie, or if you need my services, of course, I'm happy to help you with a mortgage loan. My number is 704-277-4463. That number is 704-277-4463. You can also find my online application at themortgagegenius.com. That's 3 words, themortgagegenius.com. Thanks again for listening to another show of Reshair Radio. Thank you, guests, for being in the studio here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday at 10 o'clock.
Sports fans know that the key to winning the big game is going in prepared. Right now, houses are selling fast. So if you're in the market for a new home purchase, don't just be prepared, be Movement Mortgage prepared. Charlotte's leading mortgage lender, Chris Reshair at Movement Mortgage, will tee you up with a free, fully underwritten, upfront pre-approval. Shop for the home of your dreams, already backed by an upfront pre-approval at Movement Mortgage. Call Chris today at 704-277-4463 or find Chris at www.themortgagegenius.com. Go into the game prepared with Chris Reshair of Movement Mortgage. You've been listening to Reshair with Chris Reshair, a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant with Movement Mortgage, equal housing lender. Originator license number 117266. Learn more online at themortgagegenius.com.